It's 7 o'clock. This is the Breezy Point City Council, April 3rd, 2017. Meeting is called to order. Our first order of business, pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We got a really nice crowd on such a beautiful night. Next order of business is the consent calendar. We have before you the City Council minutes of March 6, 2017, and the approval of claims totaling $73,296.01, which includes electronic checks 1779E through 1782E, and paper checks 133380 through 133411 and 133414 through 133430. Is there anything that anybody would like to have taken off and discussed separately? Councilman Maroney?
No.
Councilman Mitchell?
No.
Councilman Ball?
No.
Councilman Bakken?
No, sir.
All those in favor of the consent calendar, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? And if nobody has any objections, what I'd like to do is make a little bit of a change in our agenda here and have the sheriff's presentation come in before the financial consultants, because I'm sure the sheriff doesn't really want to be sitting through a discussion on our finances. So we'll move the sheriff's presentation up to this point. So please come forward. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name's Scott Goddard. I'm a captain with the Sheriff's Office, filling in for Sheriff Dahl tonight. If I could, I'd like to hand out these to you, and I got a few extra for the audience too.
And I was not expecting this bigger crowd either, so I don't have copies for everybody, but I'll leave them with Joe, and hopefully he can have people argue or arm wrestle over them later.
Okay, thanks.
So a little bit of history with myself. I started here, let's see, going on 23 years ago in April. So I started with the Breezy Point Police Department. Brian, Sergeant Sandell at the time, was working up in Pine River, I believe, and it was myself, Chief Rudick at the time, and then Kevin Mershman. So I've got a long history. Love this city, I love this area, and thank you for having me and the Sheriff's Office affording us this time. Any questions that anyone has from the audience or from the council, we'd certainly love to hear from you guys, ideas, input that you have. I just really kind of looked back at where we're at, what we currently have going on within the Sheriff's Office, and what we see in the future. One of the newest, I guess, and for us, one of the most exciting things, we're currently accepting bids right now for a complete remodel of the Sheriff's Office. Our building is, it predates me even by birth. I won't tell you how old I am, but it's an old building to say the least. So up until our new facility for the jail and the judicial center, we were one entity. We had the jail downstairs and then the law enforcement center, which was shared with Brainerd on the top floor. The jail, since moving across the street, has really been vacant space. So for 2017, our goal is to move our dispatch center from upstairs to downstairs with a complete remodel. In theory, it's going to be done in 3 years. So it's a 3-year cycle that we're moving forward with. What we've been told is it's going to be a complete facility, basically from the concrete on the floor up to the roof. So it's going to be a very nice facility. Keeping the same footprint, but at least we'll be somewhere a little bit more homey and a little bit more without leaks or water running into the basement. So with that, and this is one thing that I really found astonishing looking back at how we're going to move our communication centers from upstairs to downstairs. I thought, well, how busy were we in 2016? So I ran the numbers. In 2016, I thought this was just crazy. We had almost 141,000 phone calls coming and going out of our communication center in 2016. So I went to Pequot back when math was easy. Averages out to be about 1 every 3.76 minutes, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So we're definitely keeping busy. 2 other topics I wanted to cover. First off was the Take It to the Box program that you guys are members of or have the facilities here. It's a huge program, and we really are encouraging everyone from the public, everyone we can talk to take advantage of it. What it does is it keeps those drugs out of the hands of the people we don't want to have, And then also, the ones that we're getting thrown in the garbage, it keeps them out of our water system.
And just for anybody that doesn't know, that box is located over in our public safety building, right in the lobby there.
Yeah. And we have them, a number of great number of places. Breezy Point has one, Pequot Lakes has one, Nisswa has one. For the Brainerd Baxter area, we're really the home center for that. So it'd be right within the sheriff's office and then over in Crosby. And what we do is we bring all the drugs to the incinerator over in Alexandria, which according to the pollution control is really the only way to get rid of them, where they're not going to be reintroduced into our groundwater. And certainly not last, but the Tip 411 program, and that's the pamphlets that I handed out to them, and certainly encourage you to get one from Joe here. We've had that up and running about 8 months now, and we're averaging about 20 good tips a month that are coming in that. And it's for the criminal activity type stuff, not the in progress. So it's not the burglary in progress or the person breaking into the home, but the suspicious vehicle, or you've noticed suspicious activity coming and going. People with warrants. The nice system with that is you can remain completely anonymous. So a person can text in by smartphone, phone or old phone, just the old flip phone, can text into us, and we're able to actually have a two-way conversation with that person while they remain completely anonymous. So in today's society where people want to get involved, but yet they're a little reluctant to give their name, say it's a close neighbor or someone just down the street and they don't want fear of reprisals. The nice thing with that is it's a way to have communication back and forth, and we can figure out whether the tip is valid or not. We, being Crow Wing County, the Sheriff's Office, we're the one point of contact for the two-way communication. But we do have facilitators within each agency. So Breezy Point has one, Cross Lake has one, Pequot has one. Any tips that come in countywide, we hand off to the appropriate agency and then they look into them. It's a great system. We want more people signed up. We'd like more people to load the app on their phone and be able to have that communication back and forth.
So this is an app that you would put on your phone?
You can, yep. You can access it by app, or you can simply do it from an old text phone.
Okay.
Yep. It can be done on any basically cellular device that has the capability of texting. We can make it work
Okay.
with that.
Where do you download the app from?
If you go right to your app store and just type
Okay.
in Tip 411 Crow Wing County,
Okay.
and it is that simple. I was even able to do it. I was amazed that I even got it. But it does work. It works great. And the more people we can get on the system, moving into, as this technology grows, our hope is to be able to use this system, or it will grow into a system where we can have updates being sent out to the public. So not only would it be for people to send in information to us, but we could send information out, to the public via the text or via that app too. So, questions, please.
Does anybody have any questions for the?
Yes, sir.
Okay, like, you could also call 911, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't quite understand the advantage of this over calling 911.
With 911, you can remain anonymous, but a lot of people, they want to give the information to us, but yet they want to stay somewhat disconnected to it, and it's an easy way for them to do it. A lot of people feel reluctant to call unless they have all the information, and what this does, it really gives the tipster an avenue just to report anything. So they can say, this car has been up and down our driveway for the last 2 weeks and it just seems suspicious. And then if that's all the info we get, the really neat part about it is we could text the person back and say, okay, great information, but we'd like to know what type of vehicle it is. And that's where we can continue that conversation. And it, like I said, it has worked out. We've had warrant arrest, a number of drug tips that have led to investigations, stolen property, vehicle recoveries. We've had quite a bit of information that has come in just through that system.
Well, thank you, I just wanted to know that.
You bet, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, quick comment. Scott, I've heard about this in the past, about it being worse.
Yeah.
This is the first time you said it for 8 months it's been working.
Yep.
That's the first time that I've heard of it. So
And-
kind of astounding me that that's the first time I've actually seen it or heard of it.
We've been rolling it out, and we've been trying to get out the information as we can. It's been in the paper, we've had the, discussions about it. That we find that out all the time. There's a lot of people that aren't familiar with it, and that's where we're sharing it. Our hope when we first started it, we were hoping it would be person to person. You would have it and you could share it with your friends, and you could share it with your friends. It just never materialized to that. It's growing, but talking to the company, they said, expect this. They said, when you first go out with the system, we're going to have a peak, and then we're going to have a valley. And we've seen the peak and valleys as it's been working out. It's something that every time we go out and talk about it, and every time we get people to sign up, more tips come in. So yes, we do to get the information out better. Short of dropping leaflets, I don't know what else we can do to get it out, so.
Yeah, I'm sure, the department's Facebook page shares.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, you're dealing, down in Brainerd, you're dealing with the dispatch down there, but we deal with the Echo up here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the fact that we have the Echo online, I mean, they will cover it.
And I couldn't answer for you. I couldn't answer one way or the other if it went out to all of them. And I will get some sheet.
Right.
Yes.
And we have a sophisticated security system through People Security. Okay, when that goes off, okay, it goes to you people, right? It doesn't go to Breezy Point Police.
Right, the first point of contact is to People Security, to their company.
Right.
They make contact with us, Crow Wing County dispatches for all entities within Crow Wing County, the sheriff's office does, yes.
Okay, like if, let's say, well, first of all, let me say I'm not a member of the Bar Association, so anything that is said that appears to be legal, please disregard that. Okay, now I have a permit to carry, and I have to take a class every couple of years. And what I learned in that class is that if I have a firearm and somebody's breaking into my house, and if they flee, I cannot shoot them. Once they, as they're running away. But if they're in the house, I can. Okay, now if somebody would break in the house, okay, we have a panic thing, that goes off, and how long would it be before Breezy Point Police would respond?
Well, I can't speak for Breezy, but I can speak from the county. We cover 1,000 square miles. And we could have a car that literally is outside your doorstep, or we could have a car that in theory is 45 miles away. But that's the reality of living in a somewhat rural environment that we do have. We have emergencies come out. We all work very well together. So we being Breezy Point, the sheriff's office, Pequot Lakes, Cross Lake, Nisswa, we all work together. So depending on what the emergency is, resources that we draw from are very broad, and we will bring as many resources as we can to the call.
Thank you.
Oh, you bet, yep.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Yes, appreciate it, and we enjoy getting these updates every year.
Yep, and my apologies for the mix-up on the last meeting here. I live by the calendar on my phone, and if it's not on there, I'm guilty at work and I'm guilty at home, so.
I do the same thing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is the audit report for our financial consultants. We do have copies of the audit and the executive summary. So I'll turn it over to Schwenner. I still cannot pronounce that name.
Leonard Wenner and Company.
Yeah. So why don't you just introduce yourself and
Sounds good.
then the floor is yours.
Okay. My name is Ryan Schmidt. I'm a manager with Schlenner Wenner and Company. This is Dan Sullivan. He's an in-charge that also worked on the audit this year. I believe, like you were saying, each of you should have the audited financial statements in front of you, which is the bigger of the blue hard-covered packets, and then also the smaller one, the report to members of governance. Rather than kind of flip back and forth through those, we're just going to focus on the summarized PowerPoint version.
Sounds good.
Make it a little bit smoother for us today. So if you flip to the first page there, we've got the audit results here, which is kind of the overall results of the audit, and it summarizes the report that's on page 2 of the financial statements. So that report starts out with a couple paragraphs that talk about your responsibility or management's responsibility for the audit versus our responsibility for the audit. Your responsibility is, of course, for the accuracy and the fair presentation of the financial statements, versus our responsibility is to conduct the audit in accordance with the applicable standards, and then to express an opinion on those financial statements. And down at the bottom of that page is the opinion that we gave you, which is an unmodified or a clean opinion. So that's the best opinion that you can hope to achieve. So moving on to the next page, actually the next 2 pages here, we've got a summary of the budget to actual for the general fund. The first column here being the budgeted amounts for just the general fund, second column being what actually happened, and then third column being difference between the two. So you can see for revenues on this first page here, you had budgeted for about $2,015,000 in revenues. Actual revenues came in about $14,000 higher than that. Line by line, things were pretty close. A couple of the bigger variances that I see here, you had your licenses, permits, and fees come in about $57,000 higher than what you anticipated, and that's pretty much entirely due to additional sales of building permits. Also, right above that, you had your special assessments revenue come in about $34,000 higher, and that's mostly due to residents just choosing to prepay their special assessments and pay them a little bit sooner. Moving on to the next page, we've got the disbursements or your expenditures in the general fund. The budget there called for expenditures of about $2,015,000. Actual expenditures came in about $60,000 higher than that at $2,075,000. We've got a few bigger variances here if you look at the line by line differences. There's 3 in particular that kind of stand out to me. We've got general government there, which actually came in under budget by about $326,000. But then also, if you look towards the bottom, we've got capital outlay, which came in about $207,000 over budget. And really, you kind of have to look at these two in connection to each other. I think what's going on here is you budgeted for a lot of your road improvements and those projects within general government, but then in the financial statements, they actually qualified to be reclassified as capital outlay. So that's why you've got kind of some offsetting variances here that you got to net together. But really, if you look at your operating transfers out, that's what's really driving your expenditures to be up above and beyond your budgeted amounts. And really, those transfers, that's just you moving money into that revolving capital fund and setting it aside for future purchases, improvements, things like that. Excuse me. So overall, you had a decrease in your cash fund balance in the general fund of about $46,000, and you ended the year with about $1,052,000. Moving on to the next page, we've got a couple of your other larger funds here. We've got your debt service fund and your revolving capital fund. Your debt service fund, there's not a whole lot to talk about in this fund. You've got your property taxes and special assessments coming in, and then you've got your debt service principal and interest payments going out. A slight increase of about $11,000 and $12,000. Revolving capital, also not a whole lot of activity in this fund. The biggest thing to take note of would be this is where that North Drive boat landing project was run through during the year. So you see that intergovernmental revenues there of about $77,000. That's the grant you received for that project. And then the related costs are down in that general government line item. And then also towards the bottom, you see that transfer in of about $267,000. That's coming in from the general fund that we just looked at on the prior page. So you ended the year with about $1,747,000 in that. So that's all set aside for future improvements, purchases, etc. And on the next page, since we just talked about the debt service fund, I've got a brief little summary here of the debt that you've actually got outstanding at the end of the year, showing your beginning balances, that $225,000 that was paid during the year, and then you've got your ending balance at the end of 2016 of $1,695,000 on that bond. Okay, so the next 2 funds are just your smaller funds, which I'm just going to glaze over these real quick because there's really nothing out of the ordinary here. You've got your cemetery, charges for services, your receipts, your disbursements for your operating costs of about $15,000. So overall, you had an increase of about $11,000 in that fund. And then your EDA fund, very little activity, a slight decrease there of about $600. And your final fund we have to talk about here is your sewer fund, the one that operates a bit more like a business here. You've got your operating receipts, your charges for utility billings of about $385,000. You've got your operating costs of about $248,000 in total. So overall, you had your excess of operating receipts over operating disbursements. So in other words, your income from operations here of about $136,000, which is actually down about $15,000 from the year before. Looking down below that, you've got some additional receipts from special assessments, hookup fees, things like that. You had some outlay for capital projects. Overall, you had a change in net cash of an increase of $163,000. So you ended the year with about $3,348,000. So that's kind of the numbers at a very high level. Any questions before we move on to kind of the rest of the audit here?
Any questions at this time?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Continue on.
Sounds good. As part of the audit, we don't only look at your numbers, we also look at the processes that you have in place. We look at your compliance with various Minnesota statutes. And the next page here is kind of a summary of some of the findings that we had related to that review. So we've always got these internal control findings. I think you've seen these exact same 3 in the past. The first one is a finding related to your lack of segregation of duties. And this is a finding that you're probably never going to get away from simply because you don't have a whole team of accountants working on your books, you know. So you've got some overlap of duties and your accounting functions just aren't quite segregated to what would be considered an ideal level. Secondly, we've got a finding for material audit adjustments, which basically just says that during the audit, we get your numbers from you and we worked with you to help get your year-end balances to, you know, where they should be, get everything tied out and accurate, and in doing so, we posted some adjustments. And then finally, we've also got a finding related to the fact that, yes, we did help you draft the financial statements, which we do for basically every client that we have, so it's very common. Okay, and then I also said we review your compliance with various Minnesota statutes. The OSA actually gives us 7 checklists, and each checklist is about 5 or 6 pages long, just of all of these statutes that we have to make sure the city complied with. And out of all this review, there was only one that we came across that you guys had a finding related to. And that's this contractor's withholding affidavit. And what's going on here is that when you guys have a project with a contractor, before you can make the final payment on that project, you have to actually obtain a confirmation from that contractor verifying that they submitted a withholding affidavit to the state. And this withholding affidavit tells the state that they made the proper withholdings on their employees' wages. So you had one project during the year where you actually made the final payment to the contractor before you obtained that withholding affidavit confirmation. But when we talked about it during the audit, it was obtained right away after the fact and corrected, so it's been resolved. All right, so that was pretty much a summary of the bigger of the 2 blue books that you have in front of you. Next, we've got a brief little summary of the smaller one, the report to members of governance. Basically, the purpose of this report is just to let you know if there were any issues during the audit. You know, the first report talks about our formal findings, the formal results of the audit. This second report lets you know if we had any issues, you know, dealing with Joe or Carrie, or if we had any issues obtaining information, or if we saw anything you were doing that we thought was unusual that we had some concerns with. And if you look at the next 2 pages, we've got a lot of sentences here that start with no, because we didn't run across any of those items. So really, I'm just going to glaze through here real fast. You didn't have any new accounting policies that were adopted, no significant unusual transactions, no alternative treatments, no estimates. We talked about the audit adjustments. The next page, no disagreements with managements. We didn't consult with any other accountants. And really just overall no significant difficulties dealing with any of the staff, or no difficulties during the audit whatsoever. So it went very well.
Council members, any questions for the audit team? Councilman Berman?
I have no questions.
Councilman Baca?
Question.
Councilman? Too many Garys. Yeah. Councilman Mitchell? Councilman Ball?
No, I don't have any questions.
Councilman Baca?
Gary number 2.
Gary number 2.
No questions and a very, very exact presentation. Thank you.
Yes. And I would like to thank Schletterwinter, even though I have a hard time
Oh,
pronouncing
that was
it.
perfect.
Did?
And Carrie Jacobs, I'd like to give a good shout out to Carrie. We have had many audits in, previously, many years back, they have never gone as well as we have had them going in the last few years.
Yep.
So it's a great team, and we really do.
I agree. I think both Carrie and Joe did a great job.
Yes.
They're really great to work with. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get it on the open forum.
Can I get a motion to accept the audit?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Second. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the, accepting the audit as presented, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. The audit is accepted. Good point. Okay, our next order of business is the open forum. Anybody wishing to have, any questions to the council, you may do so at this time. If, we'll take that outside if you need to have some extra questions. Okay.
Tom, he wanted to be in the open forum.
Yeah, well, okay.
So now you wait.
That's okay. We'll get them.
Well, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members, my name's Tim Bramworth. I work with Winston Smith and Nolting, and we've been visiting with Joel. And our question is, Breezy Point is a very good client of ours, and we recognize that. But some of the services that we offer professionally are utilized by private developers as well. And so we've been approached by a developer within the city on a project. And we always like to make sure that we are open and transparent. So we are asking the council if there is an issue with conflict of interest if we are to work with developers in the city of Breezy Point. The way we operate is that we have dedicated teams. There's a specific team that works with Breezy Point, and there's a specific team that works with the developers that are in town. And so we always keep those separate. We don't intermix. And so we're just asking for some discussion on what the city's policy is, and if you're open to that and have any issues with conflict of interest.
Right. And actually, I was going to bring this up during the mayor reports, but as long as we're up now, we can take care of that. This was brought to my attention here just a little while ago, and it has to do with a major development that is coming into the city. And Woodseth is currently going to be bidding on that project. They do not have a contract in hand, so there is no actual conflict at this point. The conflict would come in if we would be contracting Woodseth to review the plans for the city as they come in. And so we just want to ensure that if they do get the contract, that they would have total independence between their design team. And I just wanted the council to be aware of this. Myself, as a former professional engineer, I know this can be handled internally with the appropriate procedures. Every engineering firm in the United States, I'm pretty sure, has those barriers built in place for just exactly this type of thing. So the only thing that I want is that the council would be aware of it, and that my own personal opinion is that I think this is appropriate, and I'll take comments from the council at this point if anybody has anything that they would like to bring up.
Independence is independence. Fine with me, as long as it's clean.
Yep. Councilman Mitchell? Morley?
No, I have no comments. Sorry, you were saying that they're allowed to do it, or are you asking for us to make a motion that this is
No,
okay?
we're not looking for any more.
What are you-
This is basically for information, and that we would proceed, unless anybody has any specific objections to it, we'd be proceeding, assuming that they would get the contract. They don't even have a contract in hand. But this is something that is quite normal within engineering firms, so.
Okay.
Okay, so we would, if and when you ever do get a contract, that's fine with us.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Did you want to come before the open forum?
Yes, I did.
Yes. State your name and address and.
My name is Daniel Zach. My significant other, which most people here in Breezy Point know, is Luzmina Amalia Knudsen, or otherwise Contessa Knudsen. I moved here approximately 1 year ago
at Contessa's insistence, because she owns a home on Breezy Point Boulevard, and she walks off and takes a walk with the mayor's wife. And probably as the mayor knows, I'm also a registered engineer in the state of Minnesota. Not that that matters, okay, but sometimes they say that engineers communicate differently, maybe more detailed. Now, coming from the cities, I have never addressed a console that contained a woman. So taught by my attorney friends, I was always to address the console as fathers, city fathers. Well, I guess if I had to translate that to a woman, it would be city mothers and fathers. So forgive me if I've embarrassed anybody. But the reason why I come here is Contessa always told me that Breezy Point was a beautiful place and everybody maintained their property. Now I have some photos here of two properties. One property is owned by Contessa, the other property is owned by both of us. I don't know if I have enough pictures to go around.
We've got two yet.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
Now, I took and I gave these pictures, okay, to the city administrator, who was in turn going to give them to the street administrator. And I called him. Well, she told me that he would get in contact with me. He did not. So I called him, and I never got a reply to my telephone. And personally, I think that's rather rude. But as you can look at those pictures, some of the asphalt from the street was dug up by the snowplow and thrown into our property. Now, I'm perfectly willing, without the city help, to correct that. But then what I have to do is bring in a lot of sand and black dirt to cover that asphalt. Okay, in addition, at that time, what I would do is put in storm sewer pipes to drain the water away. All right. So if the city wants to take care of it, remove that and restore both properties to what it was, I would be grateful.
Basically, I think what you're asking here is you have damage that occurred over the winter due to plowing, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And this is, I would say, typically what we'll see in the springtime. And we do make an effort to go back and clean all that stuff up. And, you know, just bring it to Joe's attention. Joe's here, he's the head of our public
Right.
works.
Well, I have, okay, through the administrator.
Yeah, and-
sure he will verify that I did.
Yeah, but it's not the type of thing that we get the beginning of March or the beginning of April. You know, it's the type of thing, we have to wait for the frost to kind of settle down a little bit, and then we'll get it basically on it as priorities allow. There's a lot of things that happen in the springtime that go that are higher priority than, you know, the cleanup, but we will get to it eventually.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yep. Anybody else for open forum wishing to come before the council? Open forum is closed. Our next order of business is the mayor and city council reports. I did have the opportunity to go down to the cities and again, and I say again because this is the 35th time in a row that we have received an award for the operation of our sewer department. It is, I mean, we're literally the #1 operating sewer system in the state. Nobody comes close to us as far as the number of awards that we have received. They did things a little bit different this year. #1, they didn't announce or didn't have on the overhead projector the number of awards that each city got, which was kind of disappointing. And the other disappointing thing is they announced the cities in reverse alphabetical order, and there's 326 of them, and so. So I would like to present to Joe Beard the certificate of commendation for the operation of the wastewater treatment plant. Joe, thank you very much. You're going to stand still for the picture. She wasn't prepared for that. There we go. It's really kind of interesting to sit there in a group of 200 and some odd people. Everybody's getting awards, and they're showing these pictures of the settling ponds for all these little cities, and people are getting excited about that. And I guess that's really exciting, but needless to say, I can't get that excited, especially when I'm wading through all these little cities and towns. But it was really very enjoyable, and I did get to talk to a lot of the people there, and very encouraged with what's going on. There was 326 out of, I think it was about 700, something like that, that actually got awards this year. And it's a significant thing to get an award, because it means you're doing everything right. You haven't had anything out of spec. And so with that many awards, obviously our wastewater treatment plants throughout the state, as well as our own city, are doing very well. Council members, Councilman Bakken, anything to report?
Brief discussion on the boardwalk that's about to go in, and everybody's happy about that. I already got my minnows bought. At the last meeting of the Parks and Rec, they're going to finish the golf course, disc golf, this year, hopefully. And in the 2017 planning, they are looking at the possibility of taking care of the parking to help with the fishing pier, boardwalk. That is all. Oh, back up. Congratulations, Joe, on that, and just a little trip back into memory lane here. Tim Poleknik, who was the started that operation, and I think a little, in fact, a lot of credit goes to Tim too. It's been a perfect system for however many years, and congratulations.
Councilman Ball.
I don't have anything.
Okay, that's fine. Councilman Mitchell.
Yes, because I'm a new member of the Roads Committee, we had a meeting Wednesday of this past week to bring me up to speed and also cover some issues. Joe Zerden took me around and toured the streets and sanitation facilities and did a great job, and I really appreciated it. And there was one request by a citizen on Shoreview Lane that we lower the speed limit to 20 miles an hour. Statutes are
25.
He asked for 20.
Oh, yeah.
The statutes of the state set the limit at 30 miles an hour. There is one exception. If the street is less than a half mile long, it can be lowered to 25. We discussed it and decided, because of the issue, the street is short, a street fairly narrow, parking, that we would go ahead and lower that speed limit to 25 miles per hour.
Thank you. Now they won't bother me anymore.
Other than that, there was a few other issues that we're looking into, and we'll get back when we get those cleared.
Councilman Brony.
Just from the planning and zoning, pretty quiet meeting. There was a conditional use permit in front of the commission for an accessory structure that exceeded a height between 15 to 20 feet. The condition was approved with the appropriate conditions put on. There's also some wetland setback discussion as well, but that will be continued both in most likely April and May's discussions. Currently, just a quick background, the county is at a 15-foot setback for Crow Wing County from wetlands for building. Some other local cities are at 30 feet. We are currently at 30 feet. Just the question of, do we remain at 30 feet? Do we go to 15? Do we raise it? So there's just some discussions happening at the planning and zoning.
Okay, thank you. Next order of business is we are looking at a change in our IT service provider. Well, we have been using CW Technology to provide our needs in managing our computer systems, and they've been doing a good job for us. We haven't had any complaints, but we're just keeping our options open. And we have been looking at NJP, that's the National Joint Powers Association, has an IT department to assist the cities, and they're currently serving Crosby, Pequot Lake, Staples, Motley, and Wadena. We could be saving approximately $1,800 a year based on our current services. In addition to what they would normally do as a IT service provider, they would assist us with other items that currently would be an additional cost with the CW Technology. The current package with CW Technology includes managing the server, spam filter, emails, etc. And costs beyond the normal management would be done at a rate of $119 per hour. NJPA will provide us with 4 hours on-site service per month, and the proposed 4 hours on-site service could also be done remotely. So we would have a little bit of a savings there. And if they need more time, they can actually do a lot of this stuff remotely. And their routine service charge, if they were to come out, would be $60 an hour. So they're willing to do all of this stuff for us. They have proposed a contract for us, and that you can read through there. So I'll consider a motion to change our IT service provider to NJPA.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion. Councilman Maroney, you're the expert in this field.
No, let's take that. No, that's not, no. Tom, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, when you're talking about the hours, the contract does state 4 hours on site plus 5 hours of remote assistance. So it's an addition. Might have worded that just a little bit, so
Yeah.
just clarifying that. The one question I did have, and I called Joe and discussed it with him, he got clarification, was if there was additional hours needed at the $60 per hour for on-site support, when that hour started. NGP is almost an hour away, so he did clarify that that is when they arrive on site that time starts. So I was happy to hear that. Other than that, I did not have any other additional comments or questions.
Councilman Mitchell.
Have we talked to the other cities that they service, and they're happy with their service?
Yeah, another thing to point out is NJPA is also an approved user for the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. They have a unique database and access where anybody working on a system that interfaces with the BCA computer systems has to pass background checks and certification. So, and they have that already in place. That was one of Chief Merschman's key questions, okay, when this came up. Councilman Ball.
No, I don't have anything. I just think it looks like it'd be a good change.
Councilman Baca.
No, sir.
I'll entertain a motion to authorize the change on IT services to NJPA. So,
I'll second.
further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We shall change our affiliation to NJPA.
Rebecca, thanks for helping with the contract.
Our resident plan. The next item of business is the Sunday off-sale liquor. Everybody should know that our legislature just passed legislation making Sunday liquor sales legal. And so we do need to modify our ordinance. Starting July 1st, Sunday sales would then be eligible on July 2nd. City ordinances currently do not allow liquor sales on Sunday. The hours of operation found in section 110.073, and ordinance has been drafted and is printed here for consideration to amend that section to allow the sale of off-sale liquor on Sundays. And we specifically left the hours out of our ordinance, saying that we would be in compliance with the state, so that if the state did change the hours, we wouldn't have to change our ordinance again. And I will have to point out that there's a typographical error in the current language stating that no off-sale liquors shall be made before 8 a.m. or after 10 a.m., which technically is allowing a 2-hour window for liquor sales. And this has been existing this way for many years. And that should be 10 p.m.
It will be corrected.
It will be corrected.
Along the line.
So I'll consider a motion to approve the ordinance change and do the typographical amendment to correct the typographical error.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Councilman Bakken?
I'm all for it.
Councilman Ball?
No.
Councilman Mitchell? Councilman Maroney?
Besides the PM correction, I did call Joe and asked him, since we don't have the hours posted for the Sunday, why continue with the 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. hours? Since those are kind of statute, and Joe says next go around we'll maybe take those out and just go according to statute, but
Okay.
no other comments or questions.
All those in favor of the ordinance amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next order of business is the termination of our HART contract. There's recently been a new animal shelter built in Pequot Lakes, just south of town. This shelter is known as the Babinski Foundation Animal Shelter. The facility will take in animals at no cost to the city, and anyone who wants, or no cost to anyone who wants to surrender an animal. This facility is also a low-kill facility. They'll try and get it adopted out before they would have to euthanize the animal. The animals they take in are take care of the health needs, and they're neutered or spayed. They're offered for adoption at no cost. This will be a savings to the city because HART charges us $2,800 a year, and vet services for boarding and euthanizing. So we would be seeing a savings by going to the Babinski Foundation, and however, there is a little bit of a increased cost in that we have to pay our animal control officer mileage, so there would be some increased cost there, and we are proposing to have a flat fee of $30 when an animal is picked up after being picked up by its owner after it's been picked up for wandering around. So what we need to do is set up a policy and procedure on how we would administer that along with this change in our contract. So at this point, I'll consider a motion to terminate the contract with HART and establish the contract with Babinski Foundation and work out the associated policy and procedure to collect the $30 fee.
So,
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Councilman Maroney.
No further discussion.
Councilman Mitchell.
who's paying for the cost? I mean, somebody has to pay for that. For we're paying, now you said we're paying $2,824
Right.
a year.
The Babinski Foundation.
So it's a foundation that
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, or you know more about it than I do?
I don't know exactly the guy's name, but his last name was Babinski, and he had a vision to create an animal shelter before he died, and he gave all his money to this foundation rather than give it to the IRS. And So he set up this foundation for this purpose, and it's his goal to not euthanize any animals that don't have to be.
Good, yes.
Makes sense.
And there was just a big article in the Echo about it. It was a couple weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, yeah. That talked about the opening of this new facility. Councilman Ball.
Just a question about the 7 days for Hart, how we had 7 days, they would keep them before they would put them up for adoption. Is that something that we have arranged with the Babinski Foundation?
They understand that, it's in our code,
Okay.
it's not a problem. And we've already talked to them about collecting the $30 fee.
Yep, I saw that in here.
Yeah, Michael had asked the question, what if they don't have a check? They don't want to take cash because it messes with their nonprofit status. And we'll just bill them if that's the case. They'll let us know who it is.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Bakken.
None.
All those in favor of terminating the Hart contract and establishing Babinski as our shelter? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Next item of business is the Pequot Lakes Fire contract, the 2017-2018 contract. The contract amount for this year is $86,725.04. Last year's contract was $83,700.30. I don't know where they get these pennies on this, $80,000 contract, but anyway, they do. This increase of $3,024.74. We have budgeted $85,000 for our contract this year, so it is going to be slightly over the line item for this. However, we do have the funds to take care of that. Consider a motion to approve the 2017-18 fire contract with Pequot Lakes.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Under further discussion, Councilman Ball.
No.
Councilman Bakken.
No, sir.
Councilman Mitchell.
No.
Councilman Maroney.
No.
All those in favor of approving the contract, the fire contract for Pequot Lakes, say aye.
Aye.
And that concludes our business. I would like to remind the council members that we do have our Board of Appeal and Equalization on April 19th at 10 a.m. Next item of business coming up. And also, we are going to be having our joint City Council Commission, Cemetery Commission, Public Works. Basically, it's our kickoff organizational meeting for getting started on our new comprehensive plan that we are going to be having completed by 2020. That is our target date for getting that done. So, unless anybody else has any further business, meeting is adjourned.